So now that Game of Thrones Season 8 is over, it's time to look back, reflect, and try to find out what the hell happened. What's up, guys? My name is Carmine, and yeah, it's that time of the year where we review the overall season, and it's safe to say that this was not very good. And in this video, not only will I be giving you my thoughts on the season in its entirety, but I also want to go into what happened, why did it happen, and whose fault it is. This will be more or less an autopsy than a review. And no, I'm aware that most of you guys have probably seen many videos of people bitching about Season 8, and I'm pretty sure everyone and their mothers has a video on why it sucks. I think I saw a cooking channel and a channel that does gardening do a video on Season 8. And I will say, if you came here expecting me to repeat, it sucked. It sucked. For 10 minutes straight, then you're gonna be disappointed. Now, that doesn't mean I'm gonna defend the show, but I'm not going to throw a tantrum like some content creators did. What I want to do here is go into why it was so bad and what happened, and try to figure out and make sense of it all. Rewatching it over again, was it really that bad? Whose fault is it? And why did things turn out this way? Let's go into it. First and foremost, let me just say that the number one thing people love saying about Season 8 is that if it had more episodes, then everything would be just fine, right? I don't know about that. I often say how you, the audience, have better ideas for the show than the actual people paid to write for the show, which is crazy, but I've had many of you guys writing to me on Facebook, Twitter, sending me emails about what you would have done in their position and how you'd end the series, and a lot of the times, I'm surprised you guys aren't doing your own shows, because it's usually damn good. But the one thing I've always noticed is that many of you who do send me your versions never go beyond the 6-episode requirement. So would more episodes really do any good, or did it hurt the show? I remember doing a video on this topic many years ago, around 2015, where we got reports that HBO wanted more seasons for the show. In fact, HBO's programming president at the time, Michael Lombardo, said, "We started this journey with David and Dan. It's their vision. Would I love the show to go 10 years as both a fan and a network executive? Absolutely." But he also said that if they weren't comfortable going beyond 7 seasons, that he trusts them, that it's not the right decision, and that he's not going to have a show continue past where the creators believe they finished with the story. So essentially, HBO loves that Game of Thrones was a fantastic show that everybody loved and made lots of money. Great. But he also didn't want it to go past the amount of episodes it should have. But they did. Dave and Dan, in another interview, said, "From the beginning, we wanted to tell a 70-hour movie. It will turn out to be a 73-hour movie, but it stayed relatively the same of having the beginning, middle, and now we're coming to the end. And it would have been really tough if we lost any of the core members, blah, 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 but I'm very happy we kept everyone and finished the way we want to. Whatever." Now, here's why I'm skeptical of this whole thing, and that was probably wishful thinking on their part. Game of Thrones has a strict formula that they keep to in every season. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 usually set up the season, 4 and 5 set up our conflicts and situations, 6, 7, and 8 escalate those issues, and in 9, the dreaded episode, they come ahead, and 10 wraps it all up, usually with a shocker, and set up for next season. Sometimes those will mix and match a little. Instead of 1, 2, and 3 setting up the season, 1 and 2 will set it up, and then 3 and 4 will set up the conflict, and so on. But it mostly stays true to that formula, and now that the original final season, which they wanted to be Season 7, has to be divided into 7 and 8, then that means Season 6 would need to change a lot so that the last 2 seasons can have more of a coherent formula and rhythm. If Season 7 was going to be the final season, then were they going to start with Dany landing in Westeros and then dying in Westeros in the same season? Because if that were true, then that would mean that every episode would almost have to be as long as an Avengers film to fit all of it in. My guess is that originally, Season 6 would have contained a good chunk of plot points and developments from Season 7 that we did get in order to lighten the load a little, which makes a lot of sense. The Season 6 that we did get always felt a little bland to me, and many episodes were just so boring, and there was a lot of time killing and wasteful scenes. My thought here is that clearly they had to extend certain things in Season 6 to make enough space to reach that 10-episode mark. There was no way HBO was going to budge on allowing Season 6 to have anything less than 10 when they compromised on the final 2 seasons having less. So, my guess is that their original plan was to probably have the war between Cersei and Dany to start in Season 6, and then possibly spill over into Season 7, and somehow also throw the White Walkers in there too. It's weird to think on it now, but I would love to see their original outline and plans for 70 episodes, because they clearly had to change Season 6 to fit content enough for 2 extra seasons. But regardless, extending the show like that did end up hurting it a lot, which is weird because you think that having more episodes would give them time to expand upon and develop the characters, conflicts, and overall cohesion of the story, but it just comes off very flat. It's crazy to think that more episodes didn't help the show. But you know what's even more crazy? How crazy good our sponsor, Surfshark VPN, really is. Today's world, browsing the internet has become a lot more risky, and every day we just risk losing our information to hackers and shady websites. But Surfshark VPN has got you covered. They've got a bunch of servers worldwide to help you stay anonymous every time you're online and keep your data safe with a variety of security options. And for my overseas viewers, Surfshark VPN can help you watch streaming services you wouldn't normally have access to in your country, such as Netflix and even Hulu. And now that Thrones is over, I'll be going over and recommending quite a few of those shows on those platforms, so be prepared for that. And to help you get started, Surfshark VPN is offering to give you guys 84% off your purchase plus 1 month free as a bonus. And to get started, head on over to surfshark.com and use code RTR, or click the link in the description below and protect your privacy today. Now, I guess you could argue that we should blame the writers for their piss-poor management and just awfulness at writing the series, but they answer to other people, and those people have the final say. So if extending the show and changing the seasons up a bit really hurt the endgame, then is this Dave and Dan's fault, or is it HBO's fault, or is it on George? People have said that this is mostly George for always promising to finish the books, but never doing so, and as such, it caused Dave and Dan to use up all that available material and then have to stumble to the finish line. Some would say HBO because they should have replaced Dave and Dan early on, or allowed Thrones to finish on season 7 and then do spin-offs and prequels later on. Personally, I say it's not George's fault in the least. I'd rather he take his time on the novels and make them good. HBO is a company. I don't blame them. They want money. Even though some of the higher-ups are fans of the series, they still want a profit, of course. Some showrunners know when to fold while they're on a roll. Take Jerry Seinfeld, for example. NBC was ready to dump trucks of money on his lawn for another season of Seinfeld, but he decided to end it there. So, and I hate to top on the whole Dave and Dan hate because it's everywhere, but you can't help it. It's mostly on those two. Thrones could have gone on a bit longer had they incorporated more materials from the books to prolong the story and keep it interesting. One thing everyone loves about the source material is that there are always someone else outside the Starks, the Lannisters, to cheer for. Whether you're a House Martell fan or a Greyjoy fan or even the Tyrells, there is always a character in there for everyone, and every house has their own stakes in the game and their own story. But what they should have done, in hindsight, was do their own thing. It's what The Handmaid's Tale did. When they adapted the book to show, there was only one book, and now they're on season 3. Did they stretch it out? No. They took the characters, hired competent writers, and went with it, and it's great. Dave and Dan had to take a half-finished story with George's vision of an ending and fill the gaps with their own ideas of how to reach that endgame. When in reality, they should have just taken the characters, gotten to the halfway point, which is season 5, and then from season 6 onwards, do their own thing. Fuck George's endgame. It would have felt more coherent in general to the overall story for them just to do whatever it is they want, that they felt was appropriate. Everyone takes blame here, of course, I'm sure, but Dave and Dan really should have taken the initiative and done their own thing. Make it separate universe, like the Marvel and DC comics do, you know? They were too afraid to do so, and as such, we get a lackluster, mediocre final season whose ideas, on paper, sound awesome, but is executed poorly, you know? Like, take the Battle of Winterfell. That sounds amazing. It's very rare to see, like, medieval knights versus the undead. One of my favorite movies of all time, Army of Darkness, did it amazingly. And now we come here, and you're just so hyped, you're ready for it, and it's just a series of, oh my god, that was so cool. Oh, never mind. It's just a series of letdowns, you know? Like, oh my god, a white giant, and a little girl takes it out. Oh my god, you know, we're gonna have to get a final battle between the Night King and Jon Snow, and Arya kills him. It's just a series of disappointments, really. And that ultimately comes down to what this season was. It had the most amazing potential ever. It literally, the amount of awesomeness, to sound like a fanboy for a minute here, the amount of awesomeness that this season could have given us writes itself. All they had to do was not fuck it up. And the one thing they did was fuck it up. But overall, what really did in the show was a mix of several things, but mostly splitting up the original final season in two, and then trying to reach George's idea for the endgame points of the book, instead of letting it be its own separate thing. All of that really fucked over this series. Game of Thrones, unfortunately, will go down as another show with an amazing beginning, middle, and lackluster end. But it's not all that bad, I assure you. Join me for part 2 when we discuss what Season 8 did right, and for some of my favorite scenes, as well as a final review score for this season. If you're a fan of the Game of Thrones podcast, then don't worry. We just finished our discussion on episodes 1, 2, and 3, and it's clocking in at our almost 2 hours, and we're not even done yet. It's planned to be one of our longest episodes yet, so follow me on Twitter for updates on that. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Baba Booey.